and gentlemen, the title of this session is Collaborate, Innovate, Accelerate. Our moderator for today is the director, senior anchor and journalist at CNN Indonesia, based in Jakarta. When she was with Metro TV News Channel, she hosted a program where she interviewed public figures and personalities around the world, including the Dalai Lama, Richard Branson, Richard Gere, Kitaro, and George Soros. Now, without further ado, allow me to welcome you, our moderator, Ms. Desi Anwar. Over to you, Desi.
Thank you very much, Azlan, for those very, very kind words, and welcome to this session, Collaborate, Innovate, Accelerate. And it's my great pleasure to moderate this event. And as we've seen, COVID-19 and its accompanying economic downturn has posed various challenges, particularly for young entrepreneurs. International surveys suggest that nearly 90% of young entrepreneurs report a negative impact on their business. However, the pandemic also provides opportunities for entrepreneurs, particularly those who focus their business in the digital space. And we've seen how the pandemic has increased our dependence on technology to conduct our day-to-day life. For example, from shopping, working, eating, studying, socializing, making bookings and payments, and so on. The Internet of Things is no longer the future, but is now the new normal. Helping young entrepreneurs navigate this new normal and take advantage of these opportunities, no doubt, need support. And this session will discuss the collaborative measures and support necessary to help scale up young entrepreneurs, the types of new innovations needed, as well as the skills to leverage market opportunities. And also, this is a very important point, how to adapt to changing business models and use of technology to accelerate growth. And for this session, we have three speakers scattered all over the world. We have Ritesh Agarwal, founder and chief executive officer of Oyo Hotels and Homes, India, but is now currently on the road. Ritesh, good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Desi. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you and very inspired to be in the company of such fantastic co-panelists today.
Yes, and we're absolutely looking forward to hearing from you as well. And we have Leontinus Alpha Edison, closer to home in Jakarta, co-founder and vice chairman of Tokopedia Indonesia. Leo, apa kabar? How are you today?
Yeah,
it's
hello.
good to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting and having me. We are good.
And last but not least, Aaron Tang. Aaron is country manager of Luno, Malaysia. And previously in the program, we were supposed to have Marcus Swain-Poole, co-founder and chief executive officer of Luno, United Kingdom. But Aaron is here with us, and we welcome you, Aaron, from Malaysia.
Hi, Desi. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to have the conversation and learn from my esteemed co-panelists.
Okay, so what we're going to do is the rundown. We will have a discussion with our panelists, and there will be opportunities for you to ask questions. Please use the chat box for question and answer, and let's hope we have enough time at the end of the session, the end of the discussion, to take questions. Let's start with you, without further ado, Ritesh. You founded Oyo in 2012, and basically Oyo Rooms, also known as Oyo Hotels and Homes, is one of the world's largest and fastest growing hospitality chain. Now, as you know, we've just had 2 years and we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Now, just share with us, how has business been in the last couple of years and the challenges, and how did you deal with it? And most importantly, lessons learned. Ritesh.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Desi, again for having me here, as well as, thank you again, WIEF for having me here. And also, of course, good afternoon, everyone who's joining us here today from around the world. And of course, from India or Malaysia or Indonesia. It's a matter of great honor for me to be here and speaking with such fantastic entrepreneurs. As you can imagine, Desi, as you mentioned, COVID has been once in a lifetime impact for companies in the travel and tourism industry. Frankly, for businesses in across segments, but for travel and tourism, they had a specific amount of impact around themselves. And we have seen this around the world. So I will take this opportunity to share three things. First, what has this experience been like for us? And second, to lay out some of the lessons learned and how does this change our company and what we do in the long term. So the first perspective is saying that when COVID first hit in early 2020, it was a little bit of a surprise, right? Like all of us, it came out of nowhere. But one of the things that I have always seen, and something that you mentioned yourself as well, is that with great crisis comes great opportunities as well. So I had two priorities, actually three. We called it being able to ensure that our company is prepared with large amount of resources. Second was that we were prepared to be able to persevere. So resource, perseverance, and innovation. These were the three words that we were constantly using very often within the company. So in terms of resources, we kept the cash resources that we had. We expanded that further by means of adding additional capital by means of, you may have seen, probably one of the first Indian companies to raise a term loan B structure of around $660 million or 4,000 Indian rupee crores, and multiple other capital raising programs to ensure company had significant resources, because this would allow us to see through any of the challenging times. Second was perseverance. I think this is a very critical perspective. Everybody was worried. Clearly, we as entrepreneurs were worried, but we also relatively had much more visibility of business to be confident about future. But imagine Oyopreneurs, which are Oyo employees, Oyo's hotel owners, Oyopreneurs' families. For all of them, this was a very concerning or anxious time. So we spent a lot of time in making sure that we came together as an organization. So we have for last 2 years done over 50 weekly all-hand discussions with all our employees where we meet every week, and I lead that personally. We have a monthly all-hands with all our owners, and this is an example of how Zoom has become an opportunity, where earlier, if we had to do an owner town hall, then it would happen once a year where owners would fly in from every part of the country. Now we can chat once a month. Of course, we still miss the ability to meet people in person, but that's an example of opportunity. And similar perspectives have allowed substantial amount of improvement in terms of perseverance across the organization. And our satisfaction rates for our owners are up almost 2 times. Similarly, on customer side, satisfaction rates are up because now we can be very agile in our feedback. Owners can give feedback every month, and we can ship releases very quickly. And last but not the least is innovation. Our company operates very differently from how it used to operate earlier. So earlier, when we used to go and convince owners to sign up on our platform, it used to be only through BD managers. Now we convince owners through self-serve, where owners can come online, enter a bunch of, like earlier in Bandung, we used to have, I think, 20 salespeople. Yeah. Now we can, and each BD manager could sign only, let's say, 2 hotels a quarter. Now we don't need to just rely on salespeople. Of course, we need them and we will continue investing in them. But now an owner can just go online, enter a bunch of details and buy our software. And similarly, we have also launched our relationship program where one owner can sell our software to another owner in the neighborhood. So I think these kind of innovations would not have happened if COVID did not force people on stay-at-home restrictions, and we could not realize that hotel owners are willing to innovate on new opportunities. Yeah. So I think these were the 3 perspectives of COVID for us. And as things stand today, people are starting to travel all over again. Of course, albeit in a very different way. Travel is not the same again, but the size of travel will be equal or larger than earlier. And we are excited to participate and lead that evolution over the years.
So currently there are no more lockdowns in India, Ritesh. Things are easing up, so people are allowed to travel.
Absolutely. So there are very little restrictions of travel in India, at least domestically. Of course, around the world, there is a vaccine requirement, but India has enabled over 1 billion vaccine doses. And every day we are adding double-digit millions in terms of new vaccine dosages. So we feel very confident about continuing to take further rise in vaccination rates.
Just very quickly before I go to the next speaker, in terms of how did it actually affect your bottom line? And do you actually have to maybe lay off some people, or because this is also what's happening in Indonesia, obviously. Companies are finding it difficult to keep their heads above water. How did you manage overall? You still
No, I think
healthy?
that's a great point, Desi. I'll lay out three perspectives to it. The first one is absolutely when the COVID impacted our business, we, like most other travel businesses, had to unfortunately put some of our colleagues under the furlough programs. It was probably the toughest thing that we did as a company. But I also feel that these were situations or opportunities to demonstrate empathy and care. So it is terrible, right? Whenever you have to put people on furlough or restructure, but you have to do it with a care and appreciation that these are all people who have given their lives to the company. So, for example, 100% of the employees who left our company got shares in the business, all of who will do extremely well as we go public in the next couple of months. 100% of our employees were given benefits for anywhere ranging from 6 months to a year or even a year and a half. We changed our entire HR team to become outplacement team to focus on making sure that our people got opportunities. And as you know, in the tech world, there were businesses in e-commerce and some other places where there was a lot of growth. So because these people had a lot of tech perspective, they were able to double down and grow further.
Yeah, I think this is very important. We've also learned. Yep, go ahead.
I just want to end with one thing, which is saying that said, this was only the first 2 quarters after the COVID hit. After that, suddenly we saw that owners are moving from offline to online and customers are moving from offline to online very, very quickly. So for last 9 months, we have been actually actively recruiting and hiring, where we have a comeback home program where any Oyopreneur who we moved out or who left by themselves, or generally in the market, we are welcoming them back. So in case any Oyopreneurs are hearing, please consider us back. We are looking out for you. But look, I think it's the way of life, right? We go through highs and lows, but I think our relationships and our belief in the mission is what remains true across.
Okay, Ritesh, it's good to hear that you are keeping your team spirit up. I mean, we do need a lot of compassion, empathy, understanding. These are hard times, and it's good when companies actually prioritize their people, their team. Leo, let's go to you next. And Tokopedia, I mean, we know it in Jakarta as Toped. It was founded in 2009. So in terms of, it's no longer a startup, it's basically one of the largest and leading Indonesian tech companies specializing in e-commerce. And I have to say, I do a lot of my shopping and a lot of my buying things through Tokopedia. And in May this year, Tokopedia and Gojek, which is also a one of the largest multi-service platform and digital payment technology, have joined forces. Now the company is now called Go2. Now I've mentioned that there are opportunities in times on pandemic, you know, the winners and losers in the last couple of years, and anything to do with digital, anything to do with technology has actually done quite well. Leo, share us your experiences in the last couple of years and lessons learned, as well as, you know, how did you manage it overall?
Yeah, thank you, Desi. So I think, everybody, I think no one can predict we will have COVID. Yeah, this world will have COVID, and then things are getting crazy. But I also say that crazy in a positive way. We see a lot of crazy things in a positive way. For example, like this. We've never seen such great, huge, and fast technology adoptions, digital transformation. That's go crazy. Yeah. So if we remember early days of COVID, around March 2020. So what happened? So we see that a huge amount of business owners, small or medium or even a big one, they try to go digital. So we help them a lot. And then what also needed is that we know that this is a health crisis, but also follow with economic crisis. So a lot of pressures. So what do we do? At that time, we have a very strong commitment, and we believe that we need to safeguarding Indonesian economy. So that's what we do. So what we are doing, at that time we even give a free of charge, free of commissions to a lot of impacted merchants, especially merchants that are selling really essentials needs. Yeah, we really want to help them to be productive, right? Now, this is what we call the first learning that we have, which is adaptive. We need to adapt. We already saw that merchants adapt crazily. They go digital very fast, but we also need to adapt. But also what happened is that our broader ecosystem also adapt very well. So our logistic partners, for example, they also adapt very well. So we quickly regroup, and then we have a meetings, and then we roll out a contactless delivery, a lot of SOP, a lot of procedures that we need to do so that we can really deliver product in a safe way, right? Another thing is that, okay, that's adaptive. So what about the second thing, which is innovative? Similar with today's topic, right? So we need to innovate. What do we innovate? So first of all, okay, we already do our best to safeguarding Indonesian economy. We help our merchants. We even give them free of commission, free of charge. Our partners also very adaptive. So it's time for us to also kickstart campaigns, promotions. So this is the second things that we do. So we have a WIB in Indonesia called Waktu Indonesia Belanja. We call it WIB. So we do it, I think, starting end of June last year, 2020. So every month, the date of 25th, we will have WIB, Waktu Indonesia Belanja in DV. We are promoting everything that we can. We really want our merchants to be productive, even though a lot of restrictions happens. And another innovations that we do is that we know the status of COVID up and down, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit okay, but and then it getting worse again, and then lockdown again, restriction again, but and then loosen up again. So what happening is that during restrictions, suddenly local become very, very important. So that's why we also innovate and kickstart our hyper local initiatives. So a lot of initiatives related with local rely a lot on geotagging technology. So we launch what we call a Toko Mart, for example, and also we also have Tokopedia Now, which is just like the name. Now, if I need the product now, I can buy it locally. So within certain kilometers of radius, you can find the sellers, and then we will deliver to you in less than 2 hours. We promise them less than 2 hours, but actually the real case are lesser than that. And also, I think the last one is collaborative, right? I think we cannot do this alone. So especially governments. If we look at our governments, we collaborate a lot with governments. I think governments since the beginning, they really well thought of a lot of things. Well thought on all of the rules, all of the restriction that imposed by government is very, very well thought, right? So which businesses are considered essentials, allowed to operate, which are a little bit below the essentials, which is important, and then which are non-essentials and non-important. Right? So I think these government initiatives really make us, even though a lot of restrictions, we can still be productive, right? And then with a lot of local governments, we try to help them by, for example, digitalize a wet market. In Bahasa Indonesia, we call it pasar, right? In English, probably a wet market. So we help them to digitalize a lot of wet market. And also, I think one of the big important government initiative, we call it Bangga Buatan Indonesia. Proud to be made in Indonesia.
By Made in Indonesia.
Made in Indonesia. And then we really become one of the key partners to helping government push these initiatives. So I think that's 3 things that we learn. That's how we adapt, innovate, and collaborate. Hopefully things now are getting well. Hopefully we can still be disciplined.
Yep.
Hopefully we can, everybody, let's work together to be disciplined, but also keep the spirit high. We can go through this together. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the most important thing is our health. You can't have good economy unless everybody is healthy. So priority has to be on health. Leo, it's obviously, as people, we're completely dependent now on online application for basically everything, and particularly for, during the lockdown, especially last year, and also when we had the hard what we call the restriction of mobility. People actually have to do their shopping online. They have to buy everything online. They even order food online. Just out of curiosity, how, in terms of percentage, you've seen obviously an increase in vendors and users and customers using Tokopedia. Would you give us some numbers and how this
sure. Actually,
increased?
I will divide it into two phases. Yeah. So the first phase, which is last year, early COVID, of course, business are impacted. A lot of businesses are impacted. At that time, there also a change of trend in Tokopedia. So, for example, people start to only purchase essentials. Usually, the top three is, of course, health and personal care, but also a lot of things to support work from home and school from home, and also moms and babies, all the household needs. So that's what we saw previously. But again, like we all know, things are slowly getting better in Indonesia, yeah, especially right now. Even though there are new variant, new threat from new variant, but in general we are getting better right now. So things are a little bit of change. Of course, health and personal care still on the top of the list, but fashions start to kick in again.
Okay.
So
that's interesting. So fashion is actually now going up.
Yeah, going up. So unlike last year, probably the restriction and I think people tend to stay at home. Yeah, but I think right now people start to go out, and then a lot of places are allowed to have, I think now around 50, some of the area 50%, some of the area 75%. So again, fashion start to goes up again. These are the numbers from September 2021, which is recently.
Yeah. It's a good sign. It means that people are getting, they want to go out, they want to socialize, and they want to go back to normal. And just very quickly, mentioned earlier in May of this year, you and Gojek, Gojek is another leading tech platform, is a ride-hailing platform. You, Tokopedia and Gojek decided collaborating, joint forces. So can you give us, is this something that was projected well before COVID, or is this something that you see as something that would actually basically grow the company even bigger?
Yeah, actually, we never planned this before. We never thought of this before. But I think what happened is like this. So first of all, I think we have the same spirit, right? So in Indonesia, we call it gotong royong, which is working together. Probably in English, the right word is collaborative collaboration. So I think we have a lot of same principles, working ethos, and then same thoughts, same spirit to helping Indonesian economy. Right? So I think this the same spirit really when we talk to people, like-minded people, sometimes we really admire each other's. So the mutual respect is there. And then also, if we look at from a technology company point of view, we are not Superman, right? So we cannot build everything by ourselves. No matter how good we are, I think a lot of amazing founders out there are also very, very passionate and very good at building the business. Right? So I think when we, because we both are from Indonesia, right? Same Indonesia, we've been talking to each other for quite some time. But again, when you feel the spirit, when you feel the same energy, and then when we look at it, we can combine, right? We can combine the e-commerce, and we combine also on demand, and also financial services, right? So I think if we're talking about merchants, we're talking about SMEs. So yeah, we're helping them, but what important is to create a support system, right? In Tokopedia, we do our best to create a support system for them. But of course, with our collaboration with Gojek and also GoPay, right now we changed the name into GoTo Financial. We're not only helping them accessing digital economy through commerce, but we're also helping them from a logistic point of view, from a financial inclusion point of view. So really the complete support system is there to really helping them. So I think that's a little bit basic stories and ideas why we're really, really happy to work together with our friends in Gojek. And
certainly collaboration between giants. Aaron from Luno, Malaysia. Now, Luno, you mentioned that, Aaron, you mentioned that you've been with Luno for several years now. And Luno Malaysia is the first cryptocurrency exchange to obtain full approval from Securities Commission of Malaysia. That was, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned 2019. And Luno makes it easy for Malaysians to buy, sell, store, and learn about cryptocurrencies. And this is an area, I mean, I don't know much about cryptocurrencies, but this is certainly the currency of the future. Aaron, tell us, I mean, in your short time and also in the quite recent time that Luno has obtained the approval from the Securities Commission of Malaysia, and then suddenly COVID happened until now. How has it been? I mean, the main challenges, and also how did basically the company manage?
Thanks, Desi. So just to set the background and the context, we actually obtained our full approval to operate in Malaysia in October 2019. And just to go a little bit back in history, Luno has actually first stepped foot in Malaysia in 2016. So between 2016 and 2019, it actually took a while for the regulators themselves to get comfortable with the technology, to understand the potential benefits and applications of cryptocurrency. And very thankfully, the regulators made a very good move and also a bold move in October 2019 to grant Luno approval to operate. Now, that was right before COVID, as you mentioned, and we were all very happy. We're looking forward to huge, exciting opportunities and growth in 2020. And then we started seeing news of people getting sick, and then we started hearing borders closing. And I remember very specifically in Malaysia, it was in March 2020 that we had a sort of an all hands kind of thing in the office, and I was telling the team that it looks like things are happening. We have to be prepared, prepared in all matters of the word, in all aspects of the word prepared, meaning, take care of your family, be healthy, make sure you have enough emergency savings at home, because you don't know what's going to happen in the next coming months. And just like that, it was pretty coincidental, because the company actually wanted to do a dry run. The company said that we're going to do a dry run of fully remote working for 2 weeks. We're going to start next week. And then the day after we started our dry run of remote working from home, the Malaysian government said everybody has to work from home from today onwards. So we were kind of fortunate in the sense that we were actually sort of predicting what might happen, and then we gave it a try. But of course, the funny thing is we didn't expect that here we are almost 2 years later, and we're still hearing of, okay, you have to have restrictions, you have to stay at home. So in all honesty, the bulk of our challenges have come from this new way of working, because we discovered several things that we never expected. The first thing we discovered was that actually in a completely remote working environment, productivity didn't actually go down. Productivity was actually good. In some instances, productivity actually went up. And there are business results and metrics to show that it was actually a very effective way of working. But along with that came some very real downsides. We discovered that engagement was going down. People were feeling that the collaboration in the office wasn't doing well. Communication was very hard to people weren't feeling that they were being heard. It was tough to get projects moving. So we started encountering all these kind of problems. And I really liked what Ritesh shared earlier about how he himself leads full town halls, and he does it on a regular basis, right? And we also adapted, and we started learning that it's not enough to have that once a year face-to-face summit anymore. Literally the company pivoted to doing town halls every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, we have a group-wide kind of thing. So we discovered that. And then as the pandemic went on, we put in a lot of thought into like, what does the future of work look like after the pandemic? Like, even though we can all go back to office, hopefully one day, is that the model that we want to do? Is that even the model of the future? Does the work of the future need everyone to sit in the same office anymore? And I think the company did put a lot of thinking into it, and we discovered and we realized that no, that's probably not the way that the work of the future is. We've actually come up with something called a remote but reachable policy, which is basically a policy that allows people to work remotely if they want, the majority of the time. However, we do require some level of in-person interaction. We're going to launch it with once a quarter at least face-to-face interaction. But as we launch the program, we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, how big is the team now in Malaysia, Aaron?
In Malaysia, we
and is it growing, or at the moment are you just keeping things quite lean?
Oh wow, we've growing pretty fast. I think we started 2021 with just over 10 people. I think it was probably like 12 people. Today, the office is more than 55 people already.
Wow, it's quite fast, yeah. By the way, how is the appetite for cryptocurrency? I mean, we've heard, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there's Elon Musk with the Dogecoin, and also, tell me, is it a thing in Malaysia? People jumping on the bandwagon? Is it a?
It's definitely a thing in Malaysia, Desi. And I think I think cryptocurrency is a thing in most emerging markets. So that's probably most of Southeast Asia, probably India, and many other emerging markets around the world as well. And I think the reason for that is, for many people, crypto offers promise or potential of helping to improve their wealth and them and their family's future. So it is something that we've seen grow tremendously. Just to give some context, when we started operating under the fully approved regulations in October 2019 or even early 2020, I believe our customer base at that point was roughly 100,000 Malaysian customers. In November 2021, which was just last month, we released our latest info. We had already crossed 600,000 Malaysian customers. So that's roughly 5 to 6 times growth in the past 2 years. So it is definitely an exponential growing trend.
Any specific target, at least in the coming years, touch wood, that this Omicron is not going to do more damage to our economy and to, whatever it is that we're trying to do? Any?
Yeah, I don't have a specific company target, but personal target for me, I want to see that 1 million figure of Malaysians as soon as possible. So hopefully in the next 12 months.
Okay, well, great. For those of you who would like to ask questions, we have a Q&A box here. So please type your questions there, and then we'll address who would you like to answer the question. But just quickly, before I started reading from the Q&A box, it's the title of our webinar is Collaborate, Innovate, and Accelerate. And for this, we also need to have a lot of support, funding, but also regulations, and basically how to grow and adapt, hopefully with resilience. Ritesh, what kind of, particularly for young entrepreneurs, and what kind of, whether it's a regulation or the kind of climate that they should be, given, particularly for young entrepreneurs starting out in an industry that is actually growing, that is getting quite crowded here? Any ideas?
Absolutely, Desi. Look, I think first off, I personally was a great product of such support. I think, as you can imagine, last 5 years in India, the Indian government has had a program called Startup India, which has driven almost like a revolution, where you will see young graduates coming out of IITs and other high quality engineering institutes in India, Earlier, they wanted to go work for other companies. Now they want to start up companies of their own. So I think there is a lot of that evolution, not just in India, but I think the broader, Asian geographies, we are seeing that momentum. There are 3 to 4 things I would lay out which have been critical to our company's ability to get to where it has, and my ability to lead. And of course, I would encourage that if there are more ways in which we can double down on this, it would be of great help. The first, in my view, is always seeing solution rather than a challenge, right? Typically in our nations, in India, Indonesia, Malaysia, we've had a lot of challenges. And typically people would look at them and be troubled about it. But, in the current generation, people look at it with a lot of excitement, with eyes showing opportunity, saying that now we can go solve these problems and consumers can have a happier life after this. So I think that's one thing that I believe, constant ability to solution rather than complain. Second, talent. India has benefited, and so has, I think, other geographies as well, benefited heavily from fantastic talent coming around the world and wanting to pursue opportunities in the startup ecosystem. The smartest of the people are now wanting to join startups and young technology companies. And we at OYO continue to, of course, want to do more there. The third is, constantly thinking ahead in time. When we started our business, we actually did not even have a mobile app. We started with only an owner side of mobile app and consumer through web in 2013. In 2 years, mobile became the only way of operating. Now we have 100 million plus app downloads, world's third most downloaded travel app. So I think constant evolution, because the world is changing every 2-3 years. We can either choose to remain in one place or we can keep evolving. So I think essentially thinking about the future, constantly looking at solutions and great talent are the 3 things that I believe, combined with big markets, which I think all of us have. India, Malaysia, Indonesia, all are large, exciting markets. So I don't think that's a problem. The only opportunity is these 3 things. If these 3 things done well, I think that in 10 years from now, the top 50 companies in our countries will look very different from the top 50 companies that looked 10 years back.
That's thank you for that great input. Part Leo, I'm reading from the question and answer box. Norisa from Malaysia. How do you see and predict the business outlook in the next 5 years? How are you preparing yourself to stay in business and ahead of the curve? Can you please share some strategies, Leo?
Okay, wow, interesting questions. Yeah. So I think, to be honest, like this. So for me, people always say that we need to open mind, right? We need to open and willing to accept new things. Even we look at Facebook, right? So they move fast and break things. So they're okay to when do some innovations. It might break some of their function or features or business unit. I think even though that's true, but what I believe here in Tokopedia, we believe that I think talent and also regeneration of talent, regeneration of leadership. I think that's very important. So I think people getting old and they're always fresh, new generation leaders, next generation leaders that come and go. A lot of new generation talents here in Tokopedia. So I believe that. With the right talents, with the right and strong leadership, that's how we can always deep dive into what happened, and then deep dive into trends, deep dive into new trends, and then with new and fresh talent, after we understand the problem, after we understand the pain points and everything, of course new and fresh talents always can come up with solutions because they are new generation, they learn new things. The younger people,
the digital natives, right? The younger people,
they brain performance far better than me. I'm not that young anymore, right? So I think talents, regeneration of talents, regeneration of leadership. I think that's for us, one of the keys, so that companies, companies can not only survive but also thrive, and keep changing and keep following new trends, and then always be there because of new generation talents.
Okay, it's very interesting. I mean, technology will evolve and then you have to keep up with technology, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's all about the teamwork. How good is the team? How good is the, the leadership? Just very quickly, this Tokopedia. Do you have any plans to venture in cryptocurrencies business?
Yeah. Okay. So if I can describe what we are, what our position right now, I can say that we are still in a wartime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wartime, right?
Yes. Still a crisis.
All the pressure is there. We're in a war, right? We really need to focus on what matters, on the most important things. But I believe that we will pass this wartime. There will be a period where we have a lot of opportunity and flexibility to think of to have a self-reflections and have a time to sit and then consider a lot of things, so that a lot of ideas might come. So I always say never say never.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, though sometimes it's a little bit challenging during wartime, but there will be a time where it's a little bit peaceful, and then we can think of whatever we are thinking, and then we can directly execute and then make the dreams come true.
Okay, that's good. Aaron, I mean, when you talk about cryptocurrencies, I mean, what was your personal interest in entering this business to begin with? I read that your background is actually something else. You began your career in the oil and gas industry, and also I'd like to read a question related to this. How can crypto uplift the lower bottom of Malaysian? What is the adoption rate, and what is the difference between crypto and tokenization? Perhaps it refers to NFT. Everybody's talking about NFTs now, the non-fungible token. Aaron.
Yep. Yeah, a couple of questions there. So let me try right from the first one, which is my personal interest in crypto. How I first got into crypto was, of course, for selfish reasons. I wanted to grow my wealth, definitely. And specifically, I realized one day, because I was looking at my finances, and up to that point, basically most of my finances were assets that were denominated to the local currency, to the Malaysian ringgit. Definitely nothing wrong with that. However, usually when you speak to a financial advisor, they will encourage you to diversify. So I started looking at other assets. What assets can I buy which are perhaps not just tied to the Malaysian ringgit, because what happens if Malaysia goes through an economic crisis, etc. So I was looking for assets that are tied to other currencies, and typically the first thing you would think about is US dollar assets, because US dollar is the biggest, the most famous. But then I was looking around and I stumbled on cryptocurrencies, and cryptocurrencies, it really attracted me back then, because here was an asset that was completely digital, and as far as I could tell, it was not as correlated with any of the other assets. So when I say not as correlated, meaning that it's not really correlated with, say, the stock market or the real estate prices or bonds or gold or commodities. So I was really looking for something to help me grow and preserve my wealth. And then I kind of just fell into this whole rabbit hole of reading more, trying out, learning. And I actually first learned about crypto like 2 years before I actually stepped into it full time. So that was back in 2016. But the more I learned about it, the more I got excited. And that's when I jumped into my role into Luno Malaysia. So to the second question about how crypto can help uplift the bottom half of Malaysians, I think what Luno wants to do here is really, number one, provide access. Because for the longest time, if you wanted to invest, you had to be a rich person. It was very common, maybe just around 10 to 15 years ago. If you want to invest in, for example, something like a mutual fund or a unit trust, as is commonly known, you need an initial capital of 1,000 ringgit, which is not really something that's available to the average Malaysian. Today, for example, on platforms like Luno, you can start investing in Bitcoin from as low as 1 ringgit. So 1 ringgit is really low barrier to entry. cheaper than a teh tarik or a simple drink. And I always encourage people, it's not just about investing and wanting to get rich, right? That one ringgit you take, it's a step towards learning about a brand new ecosystem of digital technology, which brings me to my second point of, how can crypto help people? If you invest one ringgit and it doubles, it becomes 2 ringgit. So maybe that's not gonna make a big difference to your wealth, but the learning you get stepping into the ecosystem, and Luno has always positioned ourselves, we want to be the guide for Malaysians and people around the world to start learning and getting involved with digital assets, because
Interesting. I mean, there's a caveat to this. Of course, you can make lots of money, but then you can also lose. So just be prepared for that roller coaster ride. We've got 10 more minutes, and I'd like to ask this. I think everybody should answer this question, which is, I think it's a very important one, from Olivia Isabella. What are ideal innovative businesses to consider pursuing now and after the pandemic, whether you're making your entrepreneurial debut or adapting product services already on offer to the changing market? What's the next big thing that we should all grab here? Let's start with you, Ritesh. And by the way, is Oyo going to enter the cryptocurrency business as well? There's also somebody asking it.
Desi, I'll take the second one first. So we actually do believe in the opportunity of Web 3.0. We believe that fundamentally blockchains and the difference that they will make for the next generation of web will be quite significant. And we are thinking and keeping our eyes open and making some initial views. More on this you'll hear later, but I can tell you some very exciting thinking on Web 3.0 happening inside our house. I think specifically to the question about innovative business models to pursue after the pandemic, I think I have just 2 things to share. The first is technology is structurally changing, everything that's happening around the world as we speak. And in that perspective, I believe that you take any industry or any problem statement, apply technology, data science in the right manner to improve the lives of customers, I think the value creation will be very substantial. I do know that a lot of people will recommend you to do things that are pandemic positive segments. Think about them like e-commerce, delivery, and so on. My encouragement will be for you to consider the opposite. I entered the travel segment when travel and hospitality was considered a not very attractive segment. That is why we got the time to innovate, create a business with very strong moats over the years. So I will tell you that, of course, you can choose any segment you like, but if you are choosing a segment which short term in the pandemic had challenges, don't be worried about it. In the long term, those segments will be very successful, but you will enter those segments in a time when not many people are looking at it. So you will get the time to innovate rather than just focus on competition. So those would be my thoughts.
Okay, great. Leo, what about you? Ideal innovative businesses to consider pursuing now and after the pandemic. What other things can we look forward to?
It's very tough
to find the the blue ocean, we say, get away from red ocean, Ritesh was saying.
Yeah, I prefer to share I think what framework of thinking. So what I prefer to share the process and the journey. So I think when we heard the words innovative or innovate, right? So I think a little bit different with inventions or inventors. So invent something usually like from 0 to 1, right? Which is you invent something new, really breakthrough. But I think innovate is a little bit different, because innovate is that we expose ourselves, our minds, with a lot of insights, with event like this. And then even myself, I've learned from Ritesh, I learned from Aaron, for example. Like every time I'm very happy and fortunate to have an opportunity to get a lot of insights. So when we get a lot of insights, a lot of info, a lot of data, and then we process our mind. So I believe that we can think of something. Now, usually, again, my framework of thinking is that there will be always a problem, right? which is usually in a positive way. People will say that there always be an opportunities, which is identifying a problems. Right? So I believe that every audience, all of the audience right here, you have your own experience, you have your own problems in your own country, in your own city. So with all of that journey, I believe that you can find a problems, you can find a pain points. Right? So I think with all of the insights that you get, I also believe that you can really find and form a very good solutions. So I think that's how we should think of like what next and what innovative thing is happening in Tokopedia. Right? When we see that restriction, okay, suddenly people cannot go that far. Again, local become relevant. Then let's kick in our hyperlocal initiative, for example. So I think, with the journey, with that life experience, I'm pretty sure that we all will innovate. Yeah.
And the key is taking advantage of that opportunity, looking out and see what else out there in the market. And of course, taking advantage of evolving technology, which is, I think, is also very important. Aaron, there is a question that perhaps I'd like you to answer from Arjun Ryan. What should be government's adequate policies and programmatic support to strengthen the financial safety net, especially for young startups and small, medium enterprises? Any thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a deep question, definitely.
Because regulation and government support, and obviously the business, the industry climate is important in order to grow this.
Yeah, I almost feel like in terms of funding, and I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, I almost feel like in terms of funding is available, funding is there, and the government focuses a lot on funding. If it doesn't come from the government, there are private companies, there are VCs, etc. There are multiple ways to raise funding. I almost feel like it is not so much just the funding that makes the difference. It is, number one, the policies. For example, in our case, Luno struggled in Malaysia for many years because there was no clear guidance on businesses relating to digital assets and crypto. Apart from that, I also think there's a lot of value in bringing subject matter experts, in bringing in mentors from established companies, and I think Indonesia has done that tremendously well, by the way. And I think startup founders, they don't just need funding, they need guidance on things like branding, things like scaling up companies, things like people related matters. So I think these are all sort of the secret sauce, and it's not just funding, really.
Okay, we've got 1 more minute left. I would like to get from everybody just takeaways from this I think very, very important and relevant webinar. It starts with you, Ritesh. Last
I think
remarks on what young entrepreneurs need to know.
My takeaways are the future for the young is bright, because if there was one time where we could make the difference that together we can, I think the time is now. The second is a perspective of saying that as we pursue it, opportunities are endless, but instead of thinking or planning it, you should get down to executing on it, because if you miss this opportunity, you don't know when the next time will be. So those are the two takeaways.
Great. Just do it. Seize the day. Leo, advice to young entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think short from me, not too long, right? I really believe and I really agree with today's topic, which is adapt and then innovate and also accelerate. But I want to add a little bit, because this is our personal experience, which is collaborate. So we really cannot do this alone. So I think once I got advice from older generation in Indonesia, he told me that my generations, we were raised during wartime, right? The Indonesian wartime. So at that time, we were taught to fight for everything, right? And then when you got something, you need to keep it for yourself because you're in a wartime, right? But I think now are different. Now I think the younger peoples, younger entrepreneurs, younger generations, I think working together and collaborate is really important. I think that important that will really also aligned with Indonesian spirit, which is gotong royong.
Gotong royong, yes, we have that. Working together. So we have seize the day, do it now, collaborate. And Aaron?
I just want to add one point about technology. You've mentioned that it seems like technology businesses are doing well. I just want people to think it is not technology business itself that is doing well. It is rather technology enabling people to get to what they want or to solve the problems that they want that is actually allowing people and companies to do well. So I think if we are looking as technology as an enabler to help us, and that technology could be crypto, blockchain, NFT, whatever, enable us to solve our basic human problems, then we'll be successful.
Okay, great. I think big hands to our speakers. I'm afraid that I would love to continue holding this discussion, but we have to stop here because time's up. Thank you very much, Ritesh. Very good luck to you. And, I hope you get home safely. And Leo, thank you very much for being with us. And Aaron, and also wish Marcus, who I hear is not well. I hope he feels better soon, and I hope we can get to meet him at some other opportunities. I'm Desi Anwar. Thank you very much for joining this session. Because COVID is still out there, please stay safe, whatever you do. And I would like to give this program back to our moderator, Aslan.
Thank you, Desi, all the panelists and everyone for being here today and making this session a success. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this session. We truly hope that you have gained valuable input and insights.